Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. I'm just going to walk you through transit. I'll talk about ridership in Canada. I'll talk about some of the issues and challenges with transit, and I'll just summarize where I see transit heading over the next 3 to 5 to 6 years. Here's a brief bio about myself. I'm a CPA with over 35 years experience. I've spent a lot of time in public policy because in my past previous life I was an instructor for CGA Ontario on public finance. So let's look at ridership here, and I always look at this. Now, this is a total, and it's based on the largest urban systems in both the U.S. and Canada. The U.S., for example, the stats is a little lagging. It's like April of 2025, so I just estimated out basically looking at averages. But what I want to look at is the ratio. So if you look at the ratio based on June data for both Canada and the U.S., is we're 6 years in post COVID, and we're still less than 90% of the COVID levels in terms of ridership. That's still significant because there's still challenges with the capital and funding of the system. Because if you overlay population growth, we're actually in a bit more of a decline in transportation. And that's a big concern because huge investments going into, if you look at Toronto in terms of their subway system and buses and all that, investments going in, but ridership hasn't aligned properly to what the investments have been. If you look at here in the top ones in Canada here, and I've highlighted Halifax, Montreal, Regina, BC, and Whitehorse, those are the ones where I saw growth month over month. In a lot of cases, I'm either seeing flat growth or a decline. And that's significant because most transit systems roll up into a local government, like the TTC rolls up into Toronto. Hamilton, where I live, rolls up into the city of Hamilton, and it puts more stress on the operational budget and general funds to make up for the shortfall of the funding when you have less ridership. So it's something to bear in mind. TDC just hired a brand new chair. So the first focus point that he's going to be looking at is reliability. Now, here's my biggest concern with transit in general is there's a lot of commitment to go to light rail transit. But the problem is we should be looking at optimization of our routes first, and we should be looking at how best to bring people together based around urban planning issues and economic growth and how we want to do that. Trains should be part of the solution along with how we shuttle people around. So people will take things when they know it's reliable and affordable. What is future of transit is we're going to start to see more and more. We're starting to see more and more potential of robot taxis. Uh, you're seeing what Uber has picked up. Transit investments continuing down past to increase capacity, and we'll see optimization of routes. What we're probably likely going to see is a scale back of these express train issues, and we just saw that the other day at the time I recorded this video, that Donald Trump's pulling the funding for a transit project in California. Was supposed to be a high-speed rail between LA and San Francisco, which was supposed to have it's supposed to have been completed by now and hasn't, so they pulled the funding on that. Now it's going to be up to state and local governments whether or not how they want to go forward with that project or not. So I picked France here, and the only reason I picked France here is Europe has done a pretty good job. Any of you have gone through it, I've been to Portugal and a few other cities. You can move pretty good around metropolitan areas in Europe. They kind of have how transit works. So France really has done a very good job of basically making availability of trains and buses, and they've improved the service level. The U.S. has struggled with that, with the exception of cities like Dallas, and I'll get into the next chart, where Dallas has basically have done a good job of basically adding capacity and able to manage it. Because this is critical in terms of driving performance and utilization. As we've seen in that one chart, we're still 15% in some cases less than where we were pre-COVID. This is a good chart here. Now it looks at the major cities. The only one that's seen an improvement is Dallas. If you look at the other ones, there's been significant decline in cities like St. Louis, Riverside, which is out in San Bernardino County, right? Riverside County area. Denver, um, Detroit, Atlanta. You're starting to see big, significant issues with transit. And that's just going to put more funding issues and concerns around the fiscal cycle for those local governments and cities. This presentation just gave you a little bit some insight in it. I have additional work on that. If you have any other concerns around transit, you can reach out to me. I've been looking at transit for well over a decade in terms of how you can better do it in terms of the ESG and net zero, road optimization, you name it about transit. I've been kind of working those issues to kind of see what's the path forward. Thank you.